Hey friends, what's going on? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. How you doing? Good? Well, good I hope. And welcome back to, of course, Chelsea News, the daily series here on Football Therapy with the new camera setup. Huh? You like it? Drop a like on the video if you like the new camera. Series here on Football Therapy where you know what I'm saying. I'm reflecting on the news here, and I'm talking about the Chelsea. Lots to get into today. Lots to talk about. Thiago Silva contract options, extensions. Other defenders that we need to talk about as well. Also, really positive news regarding AFCON, and also bad news, but more news to get into. Lots of news. I'll say news a few more times, probably. Yes, I urge you to drop a like, that helps me out. And I also welcome you to subscribe if you're new to the channel. Because why not? You're all welcome, yeah? And if you choose to subscribe, make sure all notifications are turned on via the bell. Quickly want to reflect on, again, that win against Brentford yesterday. Uninspiring in many ways in terms of no open play goals, an own goal and a penalty, but Tuchel seemingly has had a closer look at a few players. Positive, reinforcement with Saul. Certainly Kepa. We'll talk about Kepa again in just a moment. But what I want to talk about is Harvey Vale. Yes, it was good to see the other two boys up there, but Harvey Vale has been the one that's been training with Chelsea more and more with the first team, and looks seemingly like he could be the one being integrated sooner rather than later. At youth level, he's played all sorts of positions, like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 different positions, where he's seen to be playing his best football. I'm not so sure. Tuchel, of course, played him in the front 3, perhaps because it less obvious, less defensive responsibility might suit him. Very talented. I think we might see more and more out of everyone, well, certainly the 3 youngsters. He probably did himself the most positive movements, the least damage. You know what I mean? Anyway, Saul is going to be an important squad player for the rest of the season. I can't imagine he would go away in January now. I think he's got a bit of feel-good. Tuchel's happy with him. But Kepa wasn't amazing, but he was good. And Kepa has been good for a while. And this is really, really important for Chelsea because, of course, AFCON looms. And with that, the absence of Edouard Mendy is going to go and play for his country. And therefore, Kepa is going to have to come in and fill in. And that looks like he's going to do well with that. Since Tuchel's came in, he's got a feel-good factor. He's kept clean sheets in London derbies against Tottenham. He's been the penalty shootout hero for Chelsea. He's come into certain games. He's made good saves, and he's looked comfortable. So, while we're on the subject of AFCON, I read, I haven't confirmed this yet, but I read online, I think it's from Dan McCarthy and Cy Phillips, that Mohamed Salah has been granted by Egypt to go to AFCON a little bit later and stay and play against Chelsea Football Club, which of course you can kind of understand. Liverpool and probably asked him that. Theoretically still both title rivals, though personally I've got a gut feeling City might run away with it this season. So they'll be like, look, if we can have our talisman for this big game against a rival, regardless in Chelsea, that would be great. So it will be Mohamed Salah versus Kepa Arrizabalaga, but I don't want to put him down too much. Kepa's a good shot stopper, he's good with his feet, he looks like a relatively commanding presence, like he communicates well, but we know what his weaknesses are. They remain the same. Long shots, to the sort of corners of the goal. I don't think he's got a great reach, he's not the tallest keeper, and for similar reasons, he's not great at coming out and claiming. Well, I think that's more of a confidence thing, actually, going out and claiming crosses. Both those things you'd much rather have Edouard Mendy in goal, and which makes Mendy ultimately the better shot stopper. The only thing Kepa is truly better at than Mendy is saving penalties. He's way better than Mendy at saving penalties, and maybe with his feet, actually. Maybe with his feet in terms of he's more of a footballing goalkeeper. I think that's originally why we bought Kepa for Maurizio Sarri to play Sadismo Sarri ball, because we're like, well, he's a good footballing goalkeeper from La Liga. Let's get him. Even though he costs way too much money. So anyway, I don't want to spend too long on Kepa, but that is positive news. The final thing I want to talk about on AFCON before we talk about defenders and contracts and transfer stuff is I want to talk about Hakim Ziyech. He's not been included in the Morocco squad for AFCON. I'm just going to read you a quick extract from BBC Sport. Chelsea forward Hakim Ziyech has not been recalled to Monaco's squad for the Africa Cup of Nations next month. The 28-year-old missed all 6 of his country's 2022 World Cup qualifiers this year, and has not played for the Atlas Lions since the friendly against Burkina Faso in July. I think there's a little bit of controversy there, which we're not going to get into now, but although perhaps people aren't thinking, well, Ziyech is an important talismanic player for Chelsea, he certainly is important, and he's got better. Maybe not in terms of his offensive output, but in terms of the mandatory work and the defensive movement and the work off the ball and the pressing, he is better, and he still has that little spark in him that I maintain it's something that only Ziyech has, certainly in comparison to some of our other forwards. They're all talented, Chelsea's forwards, in their own way, if not largely dysfunctional with each other. Probably the biggest problem, right? Ziyech, 28, in his prime, working hard to make sure this isn't a failed story. He may still be a player at Chelsea that ultimately ends up not working and getting sold, but for this instance, not getting called up for AFCON, in the current footballing climate where Chelsea manager Thomas Tuchel is so stressed out, he will feel very happy that he's got the option of Hakim Ziyech staying, especially when you think of Liverpool ultimately will lose Mane and Salah if we don't lose any attackers and only use our goalkeeper. And of course, the aforementioned Kepa is a good stand-in. We should be okay, right? We should be okay to navigate this period, especially considering we've got the likes of Jorginho, N'Golo Kante and Mateo Kovacic all fit and ready to be reintegrated into the side for Chelsea's resurgence back in this season to play good football again and stop conceding loads of goals and hopefully scoring some themselves in open play. Personally, I don't want to be overly negative. I don't think Chelsea will win the league. I think City are just too good. Pep Guardiola rotates the side, says they've played bad, and they've won 4-0. I think they're just too good. I think they're too settled. They're too long in the project. I think they'll win the league by 10 points. I hope they don't, but that's just how I feel right now. I don't think Chelsea will fall off massively. I think we'll be a strong contender around the top of the league. And of course, this remains to be Thomas Tuchel's first full season in charge of Chelsea. Epic amounts of credit in the bank after winning the Champions League and Super Cup. And of course, regardless of having a really talented squad of loads of good, expensive players, if you want to play football and win, you've got to build a team in your image, and you've got to actually build players that suit how you want to play, like Klopp did, like Pep did. Yes, Thomas Tuchel's starting squad is certainly a lot better than Liverpool's was, but ultimately, you still got to buy players and sign players that work in the way you want to play. And Thomas Tuchel will want that before the end. So let's talk about contracts, transfers, and all that kind of thing. A big story that's rotating around the media at the moment is Thiago Silva reportedly, and this is coming from Ian McGarry of the Transfer Window podcast. Do we believe him? Who knows? But we'll certainly reflect on the story here that was now riddling the headlines. Thiago Silva, he claims Thiago Silva has received a huge offer from an unnamed club in the Middle East. Of course, he's 37 going on 38, but he's playing incredibly well. And he's still like a Galactico. He's the reigning champion of Europe, Thiago Silva. McGarry said, quote, it is in our information that we have obtained here at the transfer window that Thiago Silva has a significant financial offer to continue his career in the Middle East, which of course in terms of money would be attractive because it would be tax-free, didn't consider that, and the leagues of course are not overly competitive. But Silva himself is extremely competitive, end quote, and there lies the truth. I think he wants to play in the World Cup. That's why he's playing at the highest level at Chelsea. Therefore, you could probably render this not the story, but the situation. You brush it aside. He's not gonna go to that level of football if he wants to be in this World Cup. He's already earned a lot of money. Thiago Silva. I don't think Chelsea are paying him loads of money. Chelsea are probably paying him like 90k a week. I mean, obviously that's loads of money in normal people's world, like you and I. But in footballers' worlds, PSG play their defenders 200k a week plus, so he's not going to be on like ridiculous money. Chelsea's renewal will probably be something similar, and then who knows what they're offering him, probably a bit more. But ultimately, you got to look at the big picture here. He wants to play at the competitive level to ensure he has that World Cup spot in the squad. And his family looks so settled and loving England and loving time at Chelsea. Like, if you follow his wife Belle Silva on Instagram, if you don't, I suggest you do. She's always at the games. She's always there, her and her boys. They love being at Chelsea. They love Thiago being at Chelsea. They love being in London, seemingly. And it's just a great part of their life. And it's kind of like a wholesome, heartwarming moment in football, seeing their family just love being integrated with a club, which is great to see. So with that, I can't comment on. I just don't think it would happen. Basically, there's a multitude of reasons that are going against it. One thing also I wanted to talk about is what Matt Law said on the London is Blue podcast. Shout out London is Blue podcast, my American friends. He does like a sort of regular series with them when he speaks about his knowledge on Chelsea. And he was asked about Antonio Rudiger and some information that he's got that he doesn't... I'm going to say it because he went wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But when you make such a profound inference like that, he basically suggested that some ex-teammates... Eden Hazard, Thibaut Courtois, are expecting Antonio Rudiger to join them at Real Madrid next season. So it's their current understanding that Antonio Rudiger is coming to Real Madrid. I also saw a clip on with Ornstein and Simon Johnson of The Athletic talking on, I think, their YouTube channel about this. Simon Johnson thinks that his demands are 180 to 200k. I've said before on this channel, if his demands are £180,000 a week, he should receive that from Chelsea. Chelsea apparently are paying him 90k a week and they've offered him 140. So they've offered him over a 50% wage increase. And of course, going to 180 would be doubling his wages, which should be sufficient for me in terms of... Because, look, yes, he's been amazing, but he's been amazing under Tuchel at Chelsea. I don't think he'd be amazing after Chelsea if he went elsewhere. I think he'd have a new sort of built confidence that he cultivated while winning the Champions League with Chelsea. But I think it's a perfect storm for him to play well here. He does want to stay at Chelsea, but... And apparently the rumours are that the 400k a week isn't what... Real Madrid would pay him. It's what ultimately, if you amortised all the money he made from the move, that's what it would build up to. So, the signing on fees, maybe, I don't know if bonuses, I don't know if there's been terms agreed, but do you know what I mean? Everything accumulated together and then split up weekly would work out to 400k a week or something. And yeah, so what Matt Law said, he's heard that the understanding is ex-teammates, Hazard and Courtois, are expecting him to join them in Real Madrid. Excuse me, when it comes to this, I'm quite agnostic about this now. If he stays, great. If he goes, fine. Chelsea will replace him. I trust the club that are doing the right thing. They are generally quite intelligent in negotiations. Yes, they've made poor signings before, but we seem to have moved away from that. Generally, the players that we bought are good players. They might not be working, but they're good players at good value. Kai Havertz, everyone wanted him. 72 million pounds, but everyone wanted him. Real Madrid, one of them. Bayern, one of them. They wanted like 100 million or something from him. He will come good. It's not bad value. Hakim Ziyech for 35 million, amazing. 47 million for Timo Werner and the goals he scored, superb. These are good value. Do you know what I mean? Ben Chilwell for just under 50 million, ultimately a really good deal in the end, especially when they're flogging Harry Maguire for 85 million or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So there's plenty there. There's good value in the market that Chelsea have got recently, and of course we've made a lot of money from sales intelligently. So I trust the club to do the right thing, and I'm sure we'll find a replacement. I'm pretty adamant that Koundé will come in regardless. And Chelsea will be okay. We just have to see what happens. But of course, if you want the updates, you have to keep it locked here to Football Therapy. All your Chelsea news updates here. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell notifications icon. And if you want to support me, you can do so by sharing the video, dropping a like, and of course, commenting down below, friends. I'll see you down there. Enjoy the football. I'll see you later.